Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. For the past few episodes, we have been revisiting some of the biggest moments of 2024. So far, we have explored the most significant developments in politics, health, the judiciary, and technology. But today, we turn our attention to what truly stood out in the world of sports this year. And for this, we bring you the latest episode of the Express Sports Podcast, which you'll find is a lot more freewheeling than what usually appears on this feed. So, without further ado, here's the episode in its entirety. We'll see you tomorrow as our series continues.
Hello and welcome to Express Sports Podcast, the last episode of the year 2024. And Amit, Vinayakk and myself, Mihir, we have come totally unprepared and unscripted for this one. We usually are unscripted and unprepared, but today, even by our standards, I think it's pretty bleak, I must say. So whatever you get in the next 30 minutes, consider it as a bonus, because we'll be looking back at the year 2024, our favorite memories, and maybe happy ones, maybe not so happy ones. So let's dive straight into it. I think we'll go alphabetically because Amit's back after a long time, so it's only fair for us to start with him. Amit, ek to welcome back. Aap at least year end pe aa gaye. How's it been?
It's not as if I was sitting on some beach like with my legs up, soaking up the sun or something. But
we don't know.
I mean, Daisar is a faraway land, but it's not that exotic in a sense. But yes, thank you so much for the welcome, I guess. It could have been a lot more warmer, by the way, like from within the heart. Not so much sass in it, but okay, I will take what I get.
Acha, theek, I'll go again. So I'll just redo my intro, and I'll have to say that in a year when the biggest coming of age and the breakout story was Indian chess, the coming of age and the breakout performer was also Amit Kamath, because he started chess, a little more than a year ago, and he won a world championship for the coverage itself. So Amit, here's the warm welcome that you needed, and Abhi, we can get back to our usual business. That's all you're getting from me.
No, I don't take any pride in calling myself the father of modern Indian chess and all that. But I mean, I have been called that by other people. So I will just you humbly say that thank you so much, Mihir. But coming back to things that are actually real and really happened rather than my figment of my imaginations. For Indian chess, this was, I think, the greatest year ever. And we could see the signs from as far as last year, right? There was a tournament, Qatar Masters, sometime in October 2023, jahan pe Magnus Carlsen is playing. And there's a kid called Karthikeyan Murli who beats him. And Hikaru Nakamura goes on air and says, this is the future for Magnus Carlsen. The Indians are coming for him. And it's going to be one Indian after the another, after the another, after the another, after the another. All the disciples of Vishy are just coming for Carlsen. And that sentiment has been replayed over and over again in some form or the other. Like Gary Kasparov has spoken about the children of Vishy Anand kind of baying for Carlsen. We've had, predictions of an Indian earthquake. And basically, this whole year, we've seen the ground, the tectonic plates of chess have not stopped rubbing against each other. The ground has not stopped shaking. It's all an Indian earthquake. Whatever event you look at the candidates, you look at the World Championship, obviously, the current World Rapid and Blitz Championship. Just today, we had Ronak Sadhwani taking down Ali Raza Firuza in a game. It's insane. It's going to be one of those stocks that just keeps on rising. Yeah, it's going to be that sort of a sport, I guess. And that's at least what 2024 told us.
Well, given that before we started recording, you had said that I'll ask you a chess question and you'll go off for 50 minutes. It's a nice bargain that you've stuck to a couple of minutes itself. So, good stuff. Our classical format se Blitz format mein khelna shuru kar diye. Vinayakk, are you still there or you've gone off for a walk? Amit's going to beat me after this recording.
Good opening to the podcast. Now we are in the mid-game.
So, what's your takeaway from the year?
Yeah, that's the end of my chess contribution. No, but crazy, right? I mean, year of chess, I think, yeah. One thing that Amit, sure, he didn't forget it, but one thing that we should also add is Olympiad. And we'll consider Olympiad as part of the Olympics coverage so that the medal tally looks nice. It's almost the same thing. So the medal tally looks slightly more palatable when it comes to 2024. 2024 is the year of chess, but it was also the year of Paris. So I'll throw the question to you. Paris, the roller coaster that it was, you can recall that a little bit, from the highs of the opening ceremony in rain to the crashing low of Vinesh, and a few good moments here and there. How was that?
I'll of course go to that, but you've completely, bypassed your memory of 2024. So we'll come to that too, Vinayak. You mentioned rain, yaar, Paris ka, and of course Vinesh thing we've spoken about a lot. There are two Paris memories that will stay with me, although the second one I'll come to it maybe later in the episode. But the first one was the opening ceremony and that whole thrill of the opening ceremony on the River Seine and all those things. And I think we did record a pod during our Pod of the Ring series at the Olympics. And so how it works is, since there are thousands and thousands of accredited media covering the Olympics, not everyone gets to be at the opening ceremony. So you have a draw that takes place. You have to apply for the tickets, and if you're lucky enough, you get nice seats. Now, me and a couple of other colleagues from other newspapers, we did manage to get seats, but they were roughly 7 kilometers away from the actual action where everything was happening near the Eiffel Tower. We were at the other end of the city, and we realized it very late, and we didn't have any place where you could sit and write about the opening ceremony. India was 3.5 hours ahead of Paris, so we were always chasing deadline. And me and the gentleman from the Hindu and New Indian Express, the three of us, on our whim, we left the allotted seats and thought we'll walk towards the Eiffel Tower venue. We had to walk because the city was shut down. It was almost like a pandemic level lockdown in Paris that evening. There was heavy rain, so we were literally, protecting our laptops with whatever little things that we had. So I had a plastic sheet on which I wrapped my laptop, and we were walking some couple of kilometers, took a subway train that helped us, cover another 2 kilometers. We took almost 2 hours to reach Eiffel Tower, which on any other day is a 15-minute train journey or a half an hour drive away. And once we reached there, of course, because we didn't have the designated tickets, we weren't allowed inside the venue. So we were literally standing on the sidewalk. And since the opening ceremony was on the river, we could watch that. And हमने अंदर के center का Wi-Fi चुरा लिया because the passwords everywhere were the same. So luckily we could file standing on the sidewalk, getting soaked under the rain. There were these 3 middle-aged Indian men under one umbrella alongside the River Seine. And that wasn't how I imagined my first Paris evening would be. But I guess that's what Olympics does to you.
Mihir, I don't know if you remember, but at the Tokyo Olympics, at the closing ceremony, both of us were inside watching the closing ceremony with only journalists, while the rest of Tokyo was standing outside and just having to contend by looking at the fireworks. So in a sense, this was a fitting way to start the Olympics 3 years later.
It just carried on from there. Yeah, it was. It wasn't a pleasant experience that evening, I must say that.
Oh, well.
But Vinayk, you completely sidestepped the question. So yeah, what's your thing?
Yeah, mission accomplished. 2024. I don't know, man. I've been thinking about it ever since we've discussing air-under and stuff. Can't really put my finger on why, but I can't find myself to remember 2024 fondly. I guess Paris Olympics played a big part in that. Yeah, some good moments. Of course, I think I'll start with January. Watching India Open in Delhi was quite fun. I'd like to highlight Tai Tzu Ying coming to India after a long break.
India Open Badminton.
Yeah, India Open Badminton. In that 1 week, I think she looked the best she did all year, unfortunately for her, because it kind of went downhill after that with all the injuries and she struggled in Paris. One of my favorite players, one of the players I still look up to, if I could say that. So in terms of, just allowing myself to be a fanboy sort of thing, she's probably the last of it. So that was quite fun. And then, hockey at Paris was memorable. Despite all the other things that didn't go to plan, I think hockey also probably slight tinge of regret that it wasn't, the semifinals didn't quite pan out. But I remember us discussing that day on probably the best match, that high-level knockout match that India has played in a long time. That Germany semifinal match it could have gone either way. Quite a crazy match. Eventually, it didn't go our way, and back-to-back bronze is not bad. So that was quite nice. If I have to pick up a highlight of 2024, for me, probably the Paralympic 10-day window was quite fun, all said and done. I think given how the Olympics went and the tinge of disappointment that was there throughout that sort of fortnight, I think the Paralympics was fun to follow and report on. A lot of good stories, lot of medals. That helps. Of course, 29 medals. They went with a target of 25, achieved that quite comfortably. And Paralympics is always, like, at least from Rio to Tokyo and now, I've always found Paralympics to be quite fun in terms of the different stories that come out. Not just the athlete disability stories, but those are inspiring and all that. But the different sports that you get to watch, the different sort of personalities that you get to know about, it's not something that we cover regularly enough. So Paralympics is the time when a lot of stories internationally as well, you get to highlight. So that was quite fun. I think Paralympics was probably the most favorite 10-day window of 2024 for me.
Amit, I have a very interesting question for you. It's at least interesting in my head, so I'll just stick to that.
I'm already dreading this. Every time you say the word interesting and throw a question at me, it's never interesting for me.
अरे नहीं सीरियसली बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. तो अभी जो भी इंडियन एक्सप्रेस को सब्सक्राइब करते रहेंगे ना हमारे लिसनर्स, उन्हें एक मेल मिला रहेगा अराउंड आई थिंक 26 दिसंबर के आसपास, वेयर आवर वेब टीम हैज बेसिकली क्यूरेटेड अ लिस्ट ऑफ द मोस्ट रेड स्टोरीज ऑन आवर वेबसाइट. ओके, एंड इट बेसिकली सेज व्हाट डिड यू रीड इन 2024. इट्स अ फैबुलस लिस्ट. स्पोर्ट्स का जब भी मैंने ओपन किया ना, वो बहुत ही आई ओपनिंग सा उसका रिजल्ट्स था. Because, I mean, the first 3-4 results, if I remember, were the live blogs, which are, extremely hardworking, behind-the-scenes heroes on the web desk, which includes you and Vinayakk. You guys run the live blogs, right? And it blew my mind that the top 4 sports stories, I won't say stories, but the top 4 sports page views were the highlights of India versus Australia under-19 World Cup final, the first, India versus Zimbabwe T20 World Cup first T20 match, India versus England T20 World Cup semi-final, and India versus Canada, the T20 World Cup match, which was abandoned due to wet outfield. What does it say about India and the reading habits, Amit? Batao zara yaar.
The last one completely makes sense before Amit starts. Anytime there is rain for a big match, that's that is recipe for great readership. That much we know by now about the web.
But Mihir, I think there's a logic to this, right? I mean, this is my logic. It could be completely flawed. The reason why certain live blogs do really well and certain don't is that it depends on how much a reader is buying into the match itself, right? If it's an India versus Pakistan cricket game, an Indian fan would want to watch it on television or would want to stream it. So it's very likely that they're already watching it, which is why they're maybe not reading a live blog.
Yeah.
But there are certain games like, let's say, India, Canada, India, Zimbabwe, whatever it is. Or especially the ones that are interrupted by rain, which means there's not much happening on the screen, which is why they kind of end up going to the internet and looking for it and seeing what is happening behind the scenes, which is how they end up at the indianexpress.com reading our live blogs.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's fascinating how the reader trends are on this,
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the questions that I've always had, why are people reading sports live blogs? Isn't sport best watched live? Or, I mean, best watched on television if you can't watch it live? I mean, reading somebody typing it out is a very cheap facsimile of how sport should be experienced, I guess.
I guess at least we can be happy because as many number of people turning up on indianexpress.com to read our work, I think that's not a bad idea. तो और पढ़ो यार लाइव ब्लॉग. मैच में क्या रखा है, टीवी पे तो वैसे भी एड्स आते रहते हैं. हमारे वेबसाइट पे आओ, आपको आई होप एड्स मिले बट ज्यादा नहीं मिलेंगे. बट अमित, अपार्ट फ्रॉम चेस, what's caught your fancy? What will you remember 2024 for? It could be chess also, actually.
We're actually a couple of things. I measure athletes, high performance athletes, usually by the amount of grace they show. It's a very rare quality in today's world for an athlete to display grace towards his rivals. Whatever we've seen from Gukesh, after he became the world champion, he's repeatedly thanked Dingleren, walks up to the stage at the closing ceremony, the confetti is falling, he has a mic on hand, he's been asked to give a speech, locks eyes with his opponent who's sitting in the front row and wants him to know that, I admire you. Even one day before he's waited for Dingleran to walk out of the press conference room, make sure that the rest of the world knows that, I know a lot of super elite grandmasters have made very disparaging comments about Dingleran's form, how this is going to be a massacre and things like that. But he's gone on without being prodded to about what sort of a great competitor Ding is. And I think that showed us a lot of things about a kid who's 18-year-old, who has the world at his feet right now, but does not. I think he looks at himself as truly as one of those Vishy's children, right? He's realized that, you can be great, but the things that you do away from the board also matter. That was one thing I will obviously always remember 2024 for. The other moment I remember is there was this one clip, two clips actually. I'm pretty sure everybody in the world has seen that. But right after Arshad Nadeem had beaten Neeraj Chopra for the gold medal at the Paris Olympics, some camera person made his way to Arshad's village and asked his mother about, beating an Indian guy to win a gold. And simultaneously, somebody made their way to Panipat, Khandara near Panipat, and asked Neeraj's mother about her son losing the gold medal to a Pakistani guy. And both of them roughly had the same thing to say. Both of them said, that other guy from the other side of the border, he's like my son as well. I mean, what a great sentiment to have. Like, the rest of the world can get enveloped in whatever nonsense that they are going to get enveloped in. But the two mothers of the two kids who were fighting for gold and silver still have the grace in themselves, have the magnanimity in themselves to look at that moment and say, I don't look at him as an enemy. That's one of the greatest sentiments I've seen in 2024 in sport.
No, absolutely. And it's a good pivot to get into Neeraj Chopra because, Vinayakk, I want to come to you on that. But before that, I'll also share like a personal story from Paris because, एक तो we are not used to seeing an Indian athlete जब भी वो medal जीतता है उसे unhappy देखने की आदत नहीं है हमें because largely Indian athletes Olympics में medals ही कम जीतते हैं. But that evening on August 9, right, when Neeraj and Arshad got into this crazy fight, eventually one-sided fight for Arshad, Neeraj came to the mixed zone where journalists and athletes can interact immediately after their match. And I happened to ask him just a simple question in my head at least, that what does it take to win medals at back-to-back Olympics? Because that's something that, Indians don't do. And Neeraj, straight away, he started by saying you need to have the right mindset. And then, ekdam unprompted, he went into this totally different tangent, starts talking about his struggles because of the injury. He basically is saying that, I have that one big 90-meter throw inside me. I know it'll come out someday. Desperate to get that one big throw. And just trying to explain how, his body is completely at fighting with him and he's simply dragging himself to the finish line every time. And there was this crazy, a pain in his voice. And he just ended that answer with a question. And he asked, "Aap khush ho na?" And I don't think यार कोई athlete इतना sad रहा है after winning a silver medal, at least in India's sports history. And that also explains the champion mindset that he has. I guess arguably he cemented his position as India's greatest Olympian, Vinayakk. And although Neeraj, we'll see how 25 goes for him, but Vinayakk, this year was also when across sports, a lot of legends of Indian sport had a tough time, starting from PV Sindhu to right now, Rohit Sharma.
Yeah, Rohit Sharma, now that you mention him, he's seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I don't know if the lowest of lows is the right word, but quite severe lows in 2024. So it's been quite interesting for the cricket team in general, or the cricket teams in general. Of course, the high point being the T20 World Cup win in the Caribbean and USA. Long wait over in that sense. Wait for an ICC trophy finally came to an end, and not one that many of us saw coming in terms of the squad that went to the World Cup, and we kind of didn't think it was a very T20 World Cup-ish squad, and then they end up winning the whole thing. So that was the high, of course. And then the Women's T20 World Cup wasn't quite as good. Disappointment there in terms of expectations that were not met. And now we are also seeing the BGT kind of heading towards a slightly nervy low point ending. And there was that whitewash against New Zealand at home, the first time ever in Indian cricket history for a 3-match or more series. So yeah, it's been a sort of a roller coaster for Indian cricket in 2024. Rohit Sharma has seen a lot. Virat Kohli has seen a lot. Hardik Pandya has seen a lot. From the IPL to the T20 World Cup, his redemption arc was quite something this year. From getting booed by his home fans to winning that World Cup and breaking down in tears at the end. That was quite the narrative arc for his time in 2024. Yeah, Sindhu, the year has ended on a high for her. She's now married and looking to tackle 2025 with a fresh focus from all that we hear. Yeah, it was a tough year for her. Back from injury, people expected some sort of a miracle from her in Paris, which we never quite were convinced about, but you never know with Sindhu and big tournaments. So there was always that factor behind. And it didn't really look like it was going to work out given the form that she was in. So let's see how 2025 goes for her. She seems at Syed Modi a couple of weeks back where I was there in Lucknow. I didn't expect her to play Syed Modi in the end, but she did. And she won the title and it ended a long wait for her on the tour. So maybe that's like a monkey off her back and she can look forward to a better run in 2025, the bigger events. But she did say that, I am keen to play. And she said LA 2028 is far away, but you never know. And I'll just like to keep taking it 1 year at a time. Wasn't too committed about it, but she didn't say no either. So let's see how that goes. But yeah, brilliant that you mentioned Neeraj. What a guy. To have that sort of mentality in Indian sport is just elite. I mean, once again, even without an Olympic gold, you just felt like you have a gem of an Indian athlete to follow and to appreciate. So that was quite something to see Neeraj in Paris.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I think we are kind of running out of time on this podcast right now, and it's impossible to capture and look back at everything that happened in 24. But, well, some of the notable and worthy mentions, Manu Bhaker, of course, turning out to be the first Indian to win 2 medals at the same Olympics, and shooting, hence making a return to the Olympic podium, which is a big boost for India. There's so many countless other things, but if we have to look forward, Amit, 2025, what is it that excites you?
I think this whole Arjun Ergyasi arc, he missed out on qualifying for the candidates in 2024. I'm pretty sure he's going to make sure that he's the guy sitting opposite Gukesh in 2026. So all of 2025 is going to be in service to that one goal.
Vinayakk?
I'm looking forward to how the women's hockey team go. Yeah, 2024, we've spoken about a lot of things that happened in 2024 women's hockey. It wasn't really in the headlines apart from January after missing out on their qualification for Paris. Harendra Singh is back. They did well at the Asian Champions Trophy. They have bigger challenges in the Pro League that we've been talking about. It'd be interesting to see how they go in Pro League. So, once the men's team have done so well in recent past and they'll be getting all the headlines. So I'm hoping that the women's hockey team is also back to some sort of form and we get to speak and cover them a little bit more as we look forward to 2028. What about you, Mihir?
A couple of things actually. I'm very excited to see how all those 4th place finishers in Paris, right? At least many of them. I'm keen to see how they bounce back and look at 25 because 25 will be a base year for the Asian Games, which will be in 26, and also, the LA, which is kind of far, but 26 will be a nice marker, the Asian Games. Hoping to see the wrestling mess sort out. Let's see if that happens. But my keen interest lies in something beyond the sporting field as such. 25 will be a key year to see if India's Olympic hosting ambitions take shape, serious shape. So far they're making a lot of noise. If that materializes something really concrete, I think this year will give us a better idea as to whether India will just go to other countries and compete at the Olympic Games or manage to host it in 2036 as they wish to as well. So yeah, that's something that I'll be closely watching and following as well. Anything else on the agenda or should we call it a day?
Mir, just before we call it a day, I think the athlete of the year in a sense was Vinesh because of everything she did and everything she can do in the future with her new career track and everything she almost did.
So if we were to do the athlete of the year gimmick, quote unquote, would it be Vinesh for you guys or someone else?
I think Vinesh.
Vinay?
I'm a little undecided. I'd still go with Neeraj.
Oh well.
Not disagreeing with what Amit said, but I'll go with Neeraj.
Yeah, I'll go with Vinesh myself. I agree with Amit what he says. But yeah, I guess that's about it. If any of you listeners have differing views from us with regards to who India's athlete of the year is, or if you think we missed out on a landmark moment, or if you guys want to share your own memories from the year that's gone by, do write to us. We are easily found on Twitter. So, Express Sports, Express Audio, both handles are there. If nothing, Indian Express is there, or X, not Twitter as it's called. Thanks for bearing with us for all of 2024. We are desperately looking forward to serving you better, more interesting episodes in 2025. And we shall see you next year. That's it from us. Thanks a lot for listening.
You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.